Hey everyone, welcome to Area 616. So recently Finn Jones gave some details on what he'd like to see on Season 2 of Iron Fist, and how Danny will be different by the end of The Defenders. For The Defenders, he said that by the end Danny would be much more mature, and also stated that he'd very much like to see Danny get a costume and further explore Kunlun for Season 2. This sounds great, and would really make Season 2 better. But that got me thinking, what should they do to fix Iron Fist for Season 2? A couple things I wanted to get out of the way first. Netflix has not renewed Iron Fist for a second season yet. It's very likely they will for a couple reasons. One, yes, it was panned by critics, but it does have a pretty big fan base as well, which has led to it getting a lot of views. According to reports, it actually had the second largest number of views for a Marvel show on the first day, behind only Luke Cage, and then followed by Daredevil Season 2, Daredevil Season 1, and Jessica Jones. So it was a successful enough show that it'd be worth renewing, not to mention the fact that if they can keep making Adam Sandler movies, yeah, they can renew Iron Fist. In any event, the second thing to get out of the way is that I don't hate Iron Fist by any means. I just find it to be massively disappointing. I know there's a lot of you guys who really like the show, and that's awesome, and again, I didn't dislike it. But I think it was very flawed, and it could have been so much better than it was. So today I'm going to go over 6 things that Marvel and Netflix can do to fix Iron Fist Season 2. Replace Scott Buck. This is probably one of the biggest things here. I seriously think this guy was the one who almost killed Iron Fist. He approached it from a completely wrong direction. He tried to ground it too much in reality and ended up making it lose its magic, metaphorically and literally. I can already see the same signs in Inhumans, which he's also making. The costumes are cheap looking, and what we've heard about the story doesn't sound bad, but it's rejecting its character's weird cosmic roots. For example, there was a super brief gif of Lockjaw teleporting leaked online. In the comics, he teleports in a giant flash of blue energy. Here, he literally looks like he's apparating, like in Harry Potter. But I say leave Scott with Inhumans. While all this does sound disappointing, the Inhumans can survive with a little less weird in them. But Iron Fist needs that. So yeah, find someone other than Scott Buck to serve as showrunner for Season 2. Power Man and Iron Fist. Chio Coker, the showrunner for Luke Cage, has said that he really wants to bring the Heroes for Hire in for Luke Cage Season 2, that being Luke Cage and Danny Rand. That sounds awesome, and could very well be what Iron Fist needs in Season 2. Now, I don't think Luke should play a huge role in Iron Fist Season 2, but I would like to see him there. I think that could go a long way in helping Season 2 surpass Season 1. Spend more time on fight choreography. One of the biggest criticisms for Iron Fist Season 1 was that the fight scenes were less than impressive. After hearing what Finn Jones has to say, that's not a surprise. According to him, he actually had to memorize the fight choreography about 15 minutes before he filmed each fight scene. That's insane, which is why I think that in pre-production for Season 2, the stunt team and Finn Jones and everyone involved should get together and work on it before the filming even starts, maybe 2 or 3 months ahead. That way when the actor goes into Season 2, he's got at least a little bit of practice in first. Everyone is constantly criticizing Finn Jones here, but it's really not his fault. On everything, he did the best he could with what he had. Ease up on Rand Enterprises. Season 2 needs to take a couple of steps away from Rand Enterprises. I didn't necessarily think those scenes were unbearable, like a lot of critics did, but I do think we spent a lot more time there than we had to. It took, 4 or 5 episodes for Danny to get back into his company, when it should have taken 2, max. So for Season 2, don't abandon Rand completely, but just spend less time there, and more time developing the main characters in the world he lives in. Speaking of which, embrace the weird. I mentioned this in my first tip, but this is extremely important, and I should also note this includes his costume and exploring Kunlun further. Iron Fist doesn't necessarily abandon its weird roots. Kunlun and Xiaolao and all that are still there. But it's almost like the show is trying to hide that or is embarrassed about it. I understand that there are some things they can't do because of budget restraints. And I'm not saying we had to see Danny fighting a dragon, but it would have been nice to get some flashbacks to Danny and Davos building a friendship in Kunlun and stuff like that. At the end of Season 2, when Davos shows up, a lot of time is spent where the audience is told that Davos and Danny were friends growing up. But why not just show us? That's literally the number one rule of filmmaking, by the way, show, don't tell. And here's the thing, I think the people making this show think you can't be gritty and weird at the same time. They're dead wrong. Look no further than Carr Andrews' awesome Iron Fist: The Living Weapon for proof. That book is gritty and dark and explores Danny's mind and takes him to his limits. But it also features a climax where Rand Tower turns into a giant robot powered by a bunch of people's chi and fights a Chinese god of fire. I'm not saying Season 2 needs to do something that big, but it does need to embrace its weirdness with open arms, because that's what makes Iron Fist unique. Perhaps the biggest complaint about Season 1 was that there was nothing really new about it, unlike Daredevil and Luke Cage and Jessica Jones, which all had something cool and unique to them. This is Iron Fist's unique thing, its weirdness. And if the showrunners can understand that, then Season 2 could be saved and then some. Okay, and now finally to the last thing needed to fix Iron Fist for Season 2, which is to give Danny a victory. Let me ask you a question. Besides nameless thugs, talking strictly about the main villains, them being Harold Meacham, Bakuto, and Madame Gao, how many of them does Danny actually beat? The answer is none. Harold is killed by Ward, Madame Gao escapes, and Bakuto is taken down by Colleen and also escapes. And of course you could say he won that fight against Davos at the end, but then again, Davos also escapes. I understand why all of this happens, but it is critically important for Danny to actually win against someone. Because otherwise Danny doesn't feel like a hero, he feels like he's a supporting character in other people's story. And that's the problem here. Danny is never given a chance to feel like a hero. He's always being manipulated and never really comes out on top. I think the showrunners wanted the ending to be kind of like Luke Cage's, where it was bittersweet. But in Luke Cage, that ending was effective because the whole season he'd fought like a madman to keep Harlem safe and take out the bad guy, and what was his reward? Prison, again. Here, when Danny says,
"It's all my fault,"
you just can't help but say, yeah, it is actually. But there you go, guys. To fix Iron Fist for Season 2, the showrunners must simply dump Scott Buck, bring in some good old Luke Cage, spend some extra time on fight choreography, spend less time in boardrooms at Rand Enterprises, embrace the weirdness of the comics, and let Danny feel like a hero. If they can accomplish all that with Season 2, I think we could get a truly great second season. But what are some things you guys would like to see in Iron Fist Season 2? Let me know all your thoughts and theories in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.